Okay, so let's get started. And it looks like I do have to be mindful that this is not at the default value. This maximum color here is supposed to be set to 1. I want it to show me a full range of influence. This is something I did just to tighten the influence so I could do the cut up geometry a lot better. But now I start to see better gradation. So if I was to remove my selection highlighting, if you set this to say 0.01, it shows you everything that has influence at a pure value of white. And I don't want that for this. I want to see the gradation. So I'm going to set it back to 1. And another thing I did is also show numbers, which it looks like show numbers will not show up if you disable selection highlighting. So this allows you to see what each vertice's influence is, or what each joint's influence on the vertices are. And this looks really good. But this is one of the great things about dual quaternion. If I turn off joints, you'll see that initially the skinning it's giving me, it's very clean. So that's one thing I see. I do have to fix this a little bit so that it's a lot more flush, but it's holding volume so well. If you come over here and bend this definitely needs painting over there in the hand, but for the most part, it's done an amazing job. These outer extremities need to be cleaned up. For now, just so it doesn't get in the way, I'm going to grab everything that is responsible for showing the tail stuff. So pretty much this whole custom setup, and just put it on a temporary layer. I'll worry about how the tail controls will be toggled on and off later. But I just wanted to hide that so it doesn't get in the way. Just put it on this layer. Call it tail system temp, LYR. Okay, let's get started with the fingers and the hand. She doesn't have as much painting as a typical finger because this uses 1 less digit and also 1 less finger. So I'm going to bend these 3 and start here at the farthest extremity, and maybe I could even rotate this back just so I can see better. But all I really want to do here is make sure that as it's bending here, that this is a tighter skinning job. So if I go to my weight painting tool, let me turn off numbers temporarily, and I'm going to reduce the brush size. And I'm going to set the weight paint operation to add, and I'm going to pick a value of 0.05. And just to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to set this to a negative value. So I'll set it to a negative 0.1 just so I can go in the negative if I need to subtract, but probably don't need it right away. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start adding. And actually a safe thing that I usually like to do is, just so I'm not painting anything else, I select these vertices first because I know exactly what I want to paint and I don't want to end up by mistake painting influence elsewhere. I'll go into the weight painting tool and it'll make sure that I only affect these vertices. So I'm going to start adding. Yeah, like that. And this would only be the case for the inside. The outside is fine. It's going to be altered with a corrective deformation result that I can't wait to do with you guys. Here now I'm going to do some smoothing. All right, I'm going to take the joint on top of it. For this top area, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, but in this case, to make sure I don't end up adding any more, I'm going to yet again select a group of vertices. So I'll start with the edge selection, and I'll hold down Shift and period to grow my selection like that. So this will ensure that I don't paint anything other than this selected area. So I'm going to go into the wave paint tool, and it should convert the selection to vertices. And then I'm going to go back to an add operation and start making a tighter result. And that right there is what a finger should feel like. If you bend your own finger, you'll notice that this is more of what you should expect to see. I'm going to hold down Shift and do some smoothing. Here, it doesn't matter so much that there's a little bit of geometry penetration, because there's not going to be any cloth work on the fingers. Her gloves are going to be skin wrapped. But if you were going to have cloth simulating on this, you might want to go in there and make sure that something this tight is you want to minimize as much penetration as possible. I know that that was a goal that I set out, try to achieve at the beginning of this lesson, to minimize how much penetration is happening for the whole rig, just so end cloth doesn't get trapped when it's trying to simulate. So I'm going to hold down Shift and keep smoothing. Penetrated piece. So if I just keep hitting Shift, holding down Shift and clicking to smooth, I will eventually completely lose this penetration. Okay, so the penetration is gone, and we have a better finger skinning job. Sometimes you have to select the other joint that has influence and do some smoothing to get better cleanup. All right, so this is a very good result for the first digit for a finger bend. All right, so yeah, this is very nice. That feels like what a finger would look like on the inside if you bend it. So I'm going to go over here and lock it, because I know this end joint for sure is done. It has its influence over the fingernail, and it has its influence over the first digit. And now I'm going to move up the chain, but I'm going to pause the video and get these other two done in the same way, and I'll come back so we can continue up the finger. All right, so that's it for the last digits. As you can see, this one also turned out really well. Nice tight result and minimal penetration. I'm also going to lock these two last digits because they're done. So I'm going to make sure this is locked. These really should have no weight, but doesn't really matter. They're never going to be rotated. They don't have any controls for their rotation, so I'm going to leave them as is. And when it's time to mirror to the other side, I will definitely be unlocking everything, because you don't want any mirror problems because you have things locked. And this is only so that these joints no longer receive any weighting or give any because they're fine as they are. I forgot to do the thumb, so I'm going to do the thumb so we can move up